think let's go 49%. Less than half pot. He snaps. What the fuck? Queens. Wow, these guys. What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Oli JT Buron. Today we're back with a bankroll challenge series. In this series I'm trying to turn $50 into a full $10,000 bankroll. We started at 2NL and right now we have $81 in the bankroll and we're currently playing 5NL poker. Remember, this series is all about the journey, so sit back, relax and enjoy my struggles at 5NL. Let's get into it. Okay, so we face a 3-bet here. We have a ace-jack suited. We're going to continue, of course. Okay, so against the check, I think we're going to check back the flop and see what happens. Okay, now we go small. I think against a small bet, we can just call. Don't see a lot of merit in raising, even though I think it's weak. I don't think it's necessary to raise ever here. I think it would be a mistake to raise, probably. And we face another small bet. Now, if I had a bluff here, I would have probably bluff. Because I think it's weak, very weak, or a trap. So I think if I raise, he always fold. So I'd rather call and just see the showdown. Yes, king jack. Okay, so it was weak, but as you can see, you don't have a lot of value in raising. He probably just always folds there. You could click maybe if it's highly exploitative, of course. Open and 3-bet. We have queens. Of course, gonna 4-bet here. Sizing wise, I think 18 is fine. You could go all sorts of sizings. If you go smaller, maybe he calls more. If you go bigger, you get more value when he calls. 9-7-5. We have two ways to play this one. We can either check to induce. Since I think he's gonna hit this board quite a lot, I think value betting is the best option. I'm gonna go off pot. He calls, and now I'm gonna go off pot again. Usually recreational players don't understand that basically I'm never folding once I do this. He maybe hopes and follows some kind of projects. And now on the river, there's nothing left to do but jamming. 22 big blinds left, and he does find the fold. So it was probably weak, but we basically won a stack, which is amazing. Pretty good start. Okay, single raise pot, cut off button. Can go small, can check. Let's just go small. We're not gonna play for a big pot anyway. So the thing is, would you rather check and face a bet or bet small and control the pot? Because if your opponent raises in this kind of boards, you can easily let go of a hand like a7 suited. Now, once he goes check on the turn, I don't think he has a lot of jacks. So straights, I don't think they're possible here. I will go something like b75 and try to take max value out of the 2-pair region or top pair region. Maybe it's too big. I could have gone smaller. Okay, single raise pot, button versus big blind. I think going small is okay. And you can do this with your whole range at these stakes, even though when there is a high rake structure, you probably should lean towards betting big and not a high frequency, because you're paying more rake, more money into the pot, more rake. Against 4 big blinds open, still gonna call ace-9 suited. I think it's too strong to fold, although it's already bottom range against 4x open with this rake. He checks back on king 5-4. I think a bluff would have probably bet on flop, so I imagine his range being mostly showdown value, so I will not bluff into this range. Now he goes for big blinds, we're gonna fold. I'm gonna play exploitatively and still trying to attack weaknesses, but I'll not do that with random hands. So unless I have a specific reason to do that, I will wait to have at least somewhat of a decent hand to do that. Okay, interesting spot. We open and there is a flat call and we face a squeeze of 9 big blinds. I think here the correct option is to 4-bet or fold, and I don't think here I'm getting exploited in any way by just for betting strong hands, so I will just fold a hand like ace-10 suited. Here, cutoff opens, bottom 3-bets, and I think ace-queen, it's kind of low frequency if ever, so I will just fold this. I'm not thinking straight GTOs. I think here at these stakes, once you put money into the pot, it's very hard that your opponents fold. So you'd rather have a very strong hand, which ace-queen in this scenario is not. So I'd rather fold it. Okay, we face a pot size bet. Here we have a double gut shot with an 8 and a queen. I think calling is okay. Folding feels a bit weak already. Let's go for call. Okay, we improved to a straight, which is nice. We don't have the nut straight, and here against somewhat of a regular, I'll 3-bet sometimes this hand. Facing a pot size bet, I think I will jam. Yeah, I'll jam. I think he has at least a good top pair, and I don't want to see a lot of rivers. Maybe raising it was better, but I think jamming is alright. If he has 2 pair, he's never folding here. 2 pair or set is never folding, and we get max value. The correct exploit against my jamming range in this scenario is just to always fold unless you have a straight, because I'm never jamming anything less than Jack 7. But opponent does find the fold, so unlucky. And once I see pot, I think it's very unlikely that he has a weak hand. So I think jamming is alright. Maybe raising was better. I think it's fine either way. Ace 8. Good call against third pot here. Very loose. We could call. And facing another bet, we can fold. Basically, the call is to have the chance to win the pot later, either by bluffing or by improving to a combo draws or stuff like that. I think it's loose. 8-6 gonna call. Pocket 7s with all these recreationals behind, I think calling it's okay. Even though you probably shouldn't do that at 5NL, I think I'm allowed to do this with my post-flop edge. But if you play 5NL and you're not very experienced in playing in positions, single raise pot against the recreational players, I think it's just better to play 3-bet or fold. Because there's a lot of rake too. Okay, facing the late c-bet on the ace, I think there's not much else to do but calling. You could argue that raising it's okay, but I think he's full of ace-x in this line. I don't want him to fold an ace. I think my hand has a decent equity to call. Let's just call it. And now against 3x open, I'm gonna go sometimes call, sometimes 3-bet. 40%, let's go 3-bet. You should not randomize these situations at 5NL. I'm just doing this for the fun of playing some 3-bets. You could just 3-bet strong hands. They will still find reasons to call you, which is the whole concept of 3-betting bluffs. Like 5-4 is a bluff, is to, yes, of course, there's some merit in having a good board coverage in some boards, but most of it is to meet a specific frequency, make your value hands get paid. But at 5NL, your value bets are likely getting paid anyway, so don't be afraid to just not have bluffs. At least at 5NL. When you go up in stakes, like already at 25, 50 NL, I think already pre-flop you have to be more balanced. The whole point of this challenge is to watch me climb the ladder and play higher stakes, how I adjust to higher stakes. Playing against a small blind in a single raise pot, I think going range here is completely okay. Calls quickly. I think bet here is okay. Let's go for the check back. See the river. He quickly checks. I think he's folding. Usually I think they have an ace in this quick check line. Right now I think he has an 8, and I don't think an 8 will call against an overbet. Nice. The bluff gets through. Let's just open pocket jacks. Open king 10. 10-7-5. I think against the recreational, this kind of boards you can go already with a very big sizing. Let's go overbet. You can go 2/3 pot overbet. I think they all have some merits. When you have strong hand, of course. Like if you have a bluff, just start with a small bet. At least at 5NL, this works a lot. Start with a small bet, and then on later streets consider bluffing or not bluffing. 9-8, I will go for the open in these Zoom formats, because I think a lot of players just click the fast fold button, and this goes same way for Queen 8 suited. Now when the button continues, I think here the correct choice is just to go for a very tiny bet on the flop and then give up. Since my opponent is a sure stack, he probably doesn't want to put a lot of money into the pot with a weak hand because he has a short stack. So I'll try it once, and he probably will fold all of his junk and not float enough. Yeah, just check fold on the turn. Okay, this guy, I think he's playing more than one table. It might be a regular. Let's just go for the call. 8-6-3, monotone boards. Usually, you should always find some checks in this kind of boards. Our opponent does check back, but I think he's capped. Although my hand is a value hand, so I probably don't want to bluff this hand. It's too strong, I think. Blind versus blind here, we go for the small bet and our opponent calls. Multiple ways to play it. I think checking is fine. And we have a note from one of the last sessions. Just gonna call here. And yeah, let's try to check. Okay, now we checked back. Pretty sure he has ace high. Now the question should be, how much is ace high paying? Let's go 2/3. I think he's calling 2/3. And he folds. Against two barrels here, it's kind of hard. I mean, there's a bunch of hands that could bluff potentially on the king. My hand could call. I really don't know if it's overbluffed. So let's just randomize. Yeah, I'll call it. Nice. Yeah, the bluff. See what I did? So basically, I know my hand is a fine bluff catch in theory. Like, you have to call some ace highs in this situation, I'll say. And I have ace high with a good blocker. And I don't know how my opponent is playing. I don't know if the spot is overbluffed or underbluffed. So I just randomized. Stuff works when you do know your theory. If you don't know at least a little bit of theory, I would strongly suggest never to randomize, but always think through your decisions. Here against a big bet with 6-5 suited, combo draw. I think if I jam or raise, my hand just plays his equity, but it's not likely that my opponent folds. So I'd rather call it. That's a very nice run out. Let's just check it. And played aggressively against the bet. Now he checks back. Okay, I think a strong pair would have bet on the turn. That's my guess. I think it doesn't have a lot. So I will go something like a block. Maybe trigger some raising. And if he has a strong pair, he would probably raise himself. So I don't exclude the opportunity to go to play for stacks. I will still get the opportunity to play for stacks if he has an overpair, but he most likely has not. And I don't think by checking you get a lot of bluffs in this line. Very small open from the small blind. I'll never fold here. Basically playing 100% of my range. Okay, checks on 6-6-5. One thing you could do on these pair boards, especially when they favor you, is to say to your opponent, you never have trips and you probably never have good overpairs. So I will bet, overbet, and then overbet again with all of my range. Good luck defending that. Another thing you could do is just playing safe, expanding your bluffing frequency, because it's a board where you have a lot of trips and your opponent quickly checked. In a board where he could have bet hands like pocket jacks, pocket tens, pocket nines, so when he checks and he checks fast, he probably doesn't have those hands. Here I think betting is better than just checking back. Yeah, I hate this scenario against the click raise. Okay, click raise in the call, I think I'm forced to call. Because if I hit the 5, I'm still playing against this guy. If it was me against this guy, I would have called the jam, but not the click raise, probably. Yeah, let's just continue. And now fold. 10-8, 8-3. Yeah, as you can see, the click raise was very strong. But we were drawing particularly good. Like 2 outs, but stack the big blind was a bet that I will always take for 1.8 big blinds. Okay, limp. I think I will go huge raise here. Let's go 10 big blinds. I don't love that this guy's from the big blind because it's somewhat of a regular, but this is just always to fold. In these Zoom formats, usually players do not limp a lot. They go for raise or fold a lot more than in normal tables. Because recreational players usually hate to not play for a lot of time, but when they have the chance to just fold and get another hand, fold and get another hand, they will fold more. And this is not a good thing, by the way. I would advise players that are playing low stakes, like below 50 NL, but even if you are playing 100 or 200 on GGs and stuff, I would just strongly advise you to play normal tables. Like, recreational players make huge mistakes when they're tired, tilted, or bored. And you just remove the bored into the equation when they play Zoom. They play better. And multi-way, just gonna call. King 7-7. Check. Kind of fast check here. 3.4 open. I will 3-bet this ace-5. And just gonna go huge. I think this guy does not have a lot. And this guy is probably... Wow. And he called. The river is the king. I will check back and sometimes chop the pot. I think it's okay to always give up these situations. But yeah, the ace-jack. Okay. The reason why I went so big is that he probably doesn't have ever a king. Neither the small blind or the preflop raiser. So I thought going 2x pot would most likely generate folds everywhere. In theory, it should do. But this time he called me with ace-jack. So probably not the best read. Now here facing 2/3, just one thing to do and it is good to call. Don't think if I jam I ever make him fold an ace. So no upside in jamming another and jamming an ace. Sometimes you have the free roll, so but in this scenario you could easily have a 7, so it doesn't make a lot of sense to do that. King 6 here, it's a multi-way spot and I don't think betting is gonna generate enough fold equity. So we'll probably go just value heavy in these kind of spots. Another question should be, do I call this 7.8 big blinds? I think we have reverse implied too. Kind of sucks. I will fold. And I want to take a look at the showdown. Because this guy bet into 4 players. By the way, we have aces here. We open and face. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. Always take into account the possibility of reversing against stronger draws. Like, what if I call and my opponent has the nut flush draw? Then it's bleeding money. Because even when I hit a lose a stack, the best option is that I never hit my flush. Here I went for the open, got a squeeze, go for the 4-bet and face a call from behind. For this 10-7-4. I mean, you could do whatever here. Let's just go small. Turn is the 8. Doesn't change much. Except for the fact that some pairs improve to pair plus equity. So I'd rather jam here. Because if he has a set or 2 pair, I'm losing anyway. So I'd rather jam and cut the equity of hands like 10-9, 9-8, or stuff like that. And he called me down with ace-jack offsuit. So the guy is a complete maniac. He cold call pre-flop, then it wasn't happy. He cold called a 4-bet against the squeeze. And then just punt his stack off. That's amazing. Just take a note on these kind of players. Never folds. He's a complete maniac. But he's passive maniac. Like he cold called. He did not raise, and even on the flop, he could have just raised and put me on ace king. There's some recreationals that like to think that way. It's good to have more than one stack in front of us. Finally, we're running decently in this 5NLs sessions. I feel like this is the first session where we run decently. Can fluck called poker fours. And I guess the click raise, I think not much to do but calling. A gut shot on flop. Facing a very small bet. I'm not inclined to raise in these situations because he made 2 big blinds. But if he has king queen, ace king, I think he calls. So I'll just go for the call. Went for the small bet on the turn here, even though it's probably thin. I will check and try to win against ace king. Stuff like that. Yes, 10-7. It's fine. Now he makes it 1 big blind. My god. He's begging me to raise him. I will not do that. This feels like he's trapping. And now he goes for 3 big blinds. My head is going crazy right now. I would love to jam the stack. In my opinion, this is trappy. He click raise pre-flop. Yeah, just fold. Click raise pre-flop. I think it's strong there. Be aware, I always go nuts against small sizing, but in this specific scenario, did not smell good. Okay, limped pot, I think against the check, you could go either way. Better check is fine. Let's go for the check. He checks again. One thing, when I say check or bet, either option are fine, because if you bet on the flop, they make some mistakes by calling random stuff or stuff like that. But if you check back, sometimes they will bluff random stuff, and you probably have the best hand, but your hand is never worth 3 streets. So checking on the flop or checking on the turn, it's always going to go either bet, bet, check, or bet, check, bet, or check, bet, bet. Usually you never have 3 streets of value with these kind of hands. And small blind folds. 2x raise. Let's just go 10. Let's make it 50 cents, my friend. Okay, jack, jack 6. I think this is a decent board for us as far as range goes. As far as hand goes, this is amazing. I'll go 25%. 8-5. Let's just fold it. Ah, he folds. That's unlucky. Here we opened pocket 5s and got a big 3-bet. One mistake that I see at low stakes usually player makes is to try and call, see a flop, and see if they make their set. But this is terrible at low stakes because the rake is pretty high, and usually players are not even 100 big blinds. Like specifically cutoff button, you could call potentially this hand against a 7.5 3-bet, but at this stake, the rake is crazy high, and there's not a lot of merit in calling these hands. And you cannot justify by saying I'm better than my opponents, because these hands are terrible at playing post-flop. You either hit a set or they are worth nothing. So never call these hands at these stakes. Just fold them. Wait for kings. Should be an advertisement. Let's open. Or do like this guy. Blind versus blind just goes all in. I think it's too much all in. Oh, come on. They folded. Queen 10 deuce. Just gonna go for a small c-bet for range here. And since we're playing deep stack against the guy that went all in before, blind versus blind, I'm just gonna 3-bet this hand in a very depolarized range. So basically I'm saying that my range should contain a lot of suited ace x, suited king x, and broadways and pairs, because my opponent is weak and is gonna overcall post flop. So I wouldn't consider playing a polarized range. Basically, to play a polarized range, you want to generate fold equity, but against these players, you usually don't generate fold equity. So it's way better to play a depolarized range and have all of your strongest hands in the raising line. Here, facing this 7 big blind 3-bet, I think we need to call this one. Even though it sucks, I think we need to. 1 big blind call. What the hell? This is weird because 1 big blind and the snap call, I think he doesn't have anything, but this guy is weak. Let's just go for the raise. I will probably regret it, but I think they're both weak. I'll just go 50% raise. Now, and I plan to bluff on later streets too, and they snap fold. Nice. Yeah, I think once he goes 1 big blind, I think is weak. But the crazy thing was the snap call from the big blind. He didn't even flinch and consider raising. I'm gonna give up this queen jack. Yeah, you win. 4 big blinds. Let's just go 13. Call. I'm gonna go really small here. Calls. Okay, I think there are lots of floats here. I'll check and let him do his thing. Okay, once he checks, I'm pretty sure he has some sort of showdown, but not strong enough. So my goal now is to correctly value bet against these cards. Now we'll go less than pot. Let's make it 29 big blinds. 29.2. He calls. He has a jack high flush. Wow. Didn't even jam, which is nice. It's not nice that he got there with the flush, but it's nice that we did not lose the stack. Although, if he jams, I fold, so it's fine either way. Against the jam, of course, gonna call ace queen. The question is, do we want to call or click raise? At least doing this guy. Okay, let me take a look at what he shows up with. Because if he shows up with a random hand, okay, queen jack is not a random hand. And it wins. Full house against full house. I'm seriously considering calling ace 9, But I will not do that. Okay, now he raises. So there's one thing to say. It's either you raise all of your shit and jam all of your strong hands, or the other way around. 8-5-4 is a terrible board for us. Let's just check it. And now it jams. Okay. Whatever, dude. Okay, gonna open ace queen and defend queen jack here. Flop, not flush draw. Gonna go for the c-bet. Now, at higher stakes, this hand is probably somewhat in the threshold of a block bet. At this stake, it's a pure block bet. You can even go bigger than a block bet. Let's do it like this. And there's multiple reasons. One reason is that at higher stakes, you get raised way more. Another reason is that at higher stakes, people tend to be more protected in the check-check line. And yeah, these are enough reasons. Another jam pre-flop. Looks like it's a strategy of FNL. Let's go for the small c-bet on 10-10-4, and we got raised. Okay, usually you are not allowed to c-bet a lot on these boards because the 4 helps the big blind more than the hijack. So the big blind should naturally develop a lot of raises. Now in practice this doesn't happen, and that's why I usually tend to over c-bet these boards, especially at low stakes. Now he makes it 4 big blinds again, which I think it's weak in a sense that he could have gone any size. We're deep stack. If you have a trips, you want to put money into the pot. So I think I'm ahead. And I will go something like 11 big blinds. He now calls. I'm pretty sure I'm ahead. He never has a 4. Let's be straightforward. He never has a 4. Now the question is, how much does he call with a 10? I think somewhere between, I think let's go 49%. Less than half pot. He snaps. What the fuck? Queens. Wow, these guys. Okay. Wow, the guy owned me. He definitely didn't have a 4, but he had queens. I even thought for a second maybe he has jacks. But queens, I would never guessed it. Usually players 3-bet queens, even though it's correct to sometimes flat queens pre-flop in these positions. You would never think that a 5-and-out players is able to do that though. This check line, I'll try to represent a strong hand by going to X spot. Hopefully it will not get called. Nice. Let's just open this 6-5. Okay, these two guys, by the way, I think they're regulars and they play just top range. Easily exploitable. King queen here will go half pot. This 9 high disconnected board. I think you can play the half pot sizing. Once they call, turn is a 10 completer. I think we'll continue with this hand specifically. I don't think we'll face enough aggression to always check this hand back, and we have a decent equity. I'm gonna fold pocket 5s against the 3-bet. Now we face an off pot on the river, which makes absolutely no sense. And I don't think I will raise though. I think I will just fold and take the L. Okay, this is the guy that went for the all-in 2 times, 3 times. And he goes 4x to fold. Okay, we have a flush draw. Jack high. Let's just go off pot here. Flush completes. Hoping to see a donk. Thought for a while, then checked back. Okay, I'm gonna go huge here. Let's just go 2/3. 3/4 to be precise. He calls, rivers a 9. Just gonna go all in. I think a 10 is gonna be in a tough spot anyway, so I'd rather target this 6x region and just go all in. Even though it doesn't have a lot of 6, in my opinion. Consider if he calls this one, it justifies a lot of B66 getting called. And he folds. Okay. We prefer the call. We jack high flush, but it's fine. Against half pot, this hand is already close. In theory. In practice, I think it's a completely fine call. Let's just call it. I think it's a call anyway, but let's just say that it's better in practice. Wow, 2.5x pot. My friend, this is a bit too much on a 5-3 deuce 9. I could have all sorts of straights here, but unfortunately I just have ace high, so I just need to fold. 5-3, even though it's not an open, I will gladly open against the recreationals in the big blinds. And a 5-L everyone is a recreational. Okay, facing a click 3-bet, we have to call. It's a mathematical call. We can never fold with these pot odds. That's why you should never do this kind of hands, this kind of raises. And now, again, we have a mandatory call with the open-ender. There's an ace. Not the best run out for this guy, because I think he has an overpair. But unfortunately, at this stakes, you can never bluff against the guy that has an overpair, because he will find reasons to call you. Let's just check and try to win a showdown, or either by making a straight or by eating a random pair and maybe going check. But I think now that's the thing. If he had a hand like, let's say that he has king jack offsuit, I think he would have probably bluffed, right? So I think he's got a pair or something that beats 5-3, but I might be mistaken. Let's see. Yeah, he has queens. Yeah, and he would have always called. So never do the mistake of saying, okay, I know what he has, so I will bluff because he has this thing and he should fold. But your opponent just doesn't fold. So who's the stupid guy? You or your opponent? Probably you, if you bluffed these scenarios. He basically showed me his cards. And you just have to say, okay, you have queens, you win. Don't want to bluff you off queens. Okay, we have a single raise pot against the guy of pocket queens from before. Just gonna take the same approach. Gonna go for the small bet. Now he calls. So now we'll go for a second barrel. Does not hit a lot of 8x, and we have an easy second barrel. Then going check. This is a regular of these stakes. These are not guys that will fight with aggression against capped ranges. So for me, it's completely fine to go such a small size. Basically say to him, if you have a hand that is, let's say, pocket sixes or 7-6 or pocket fives or ace queen, you can continue to call me. But basically, you're never putting my range under pressure, so I will continue to do that. And if I have a stronger hand, I will bet bigger, because you don't put pressure to my cap and weak range. You can never do that at high stakes, because people catch up on these things way quicker than you think so. Okay, here with the 7, on the turn I went for the B75. Now on the river I will go in with a very polarized range, so I will go until like 150%. Wow, we have the big blind squeeze and we have 9-8. I think we have to call because this guy is gonna call always, and we have a decent hand to play post flop, even though it reverses against ace king. And now we see a snap check on ace 10-4. Now this is the kind of spots where I think this guy might have a hand like kings, queens, jacks, and he might fold it. So I will start with a very small bet and see how he reacts. He calls pretty quickly. I don't think he has a strong ace ever. So I will punt off my stack here. And be aware, I made the decision on the flop because I identified his range, and in my opinion, he will be able to fold kings through jacks by turn and river. I might be mistaken. And he folds on the turn, which is nice. But always plan ahead. This is a very important concept. When you play poker, you have to think about layer streets. You shouldn't be focusing just on the single street that you're playing. Okay, here we open 2.4 face 9 and the cold call. Well, these cold call spots are always hard because I would love to fold this hand, but once there's the cold call, I think I'm forced to call. Because these hands play good post flop and we're deeper than 100 big blinds. So I think calling is the correct option. Now once it goes check, 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 and this guy checked back decently quick, I think we have a shot to win in this hand by going B75. This guy is probably just dead money. Okay, the guy calls from behind. Wow, and we make a straight. Okay, of course, once we make a straight, there's no other thing to do but jamming. Let's just jam. And it's now calls with kings. Wow, wow. To be fair, I would have just give up this hand on the river once he calls. I think if he checks quick and then calls on the turn, I think I could have not gave up on the river. It depends on the river. I think river hearts I would have bluffed probably. I don't put the guy on a lot of hearts. Wow, amazing. So I think it's okay for today. Yeah, we made a pretty good session. Let's take a look at the results. Okay, these are the results for today's session. We are on end to note in the sessions tab. I filtered for the last 2 hours. As you can see, we played for 1 hour and 6 minutes, played 403 hands and won 10 hours and 88 cents. In EV was even more. So I think we lost an all-in, maybe. I don't know. Still, we managed to win a couple of stocks in this session. Amazing. So guys, that was it for today's session. I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of content. If you did, drop a like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.